What did the bully do at your school that made you think that's too far? Belted some kid with a chunk of wood. 2x4. For talking to his girl. Kid got a depressed skull fracture or some crap. Bully went to jail. Poor Plank. This is not what Johnny 2x4 created him for. I went to a boarding school. Some kid got pinned down by two guys while another bounced his balls on his face. This kid got at Mr. Ball Bouncy by peeing into a water bottle and pouring it all over his room. Both were kicked out. I would have took a big bite out of the guy's dangling twins. 5th grade. She mercilessly bullied the shortest, smallest kid in class every day. She called him midget and other things like that. I distinctly remember the day she shoved him to the ground outside of school. That was when I knew I had to stay away from her no matter what. About 5-ish years later, her and her boyfriend were involved in the murder of her mom and sister. They found her trying to run away to Mexico. Completely horrifying and heartbreaking situation. Do you know what happened to the small guy? I really hope things got better in life for him. Literally smeared crap on this one autistic kid who bit the tip of his finger off after. Had it coming. Stole the wheelchair of a disabled girl. Now thing was, everyone liked this girl, so there was a cry for blood. They expelled him after threats were made against the administrators. Who the actual frick does this? It was more like my entire 8th grade class. I guess one girl sent a nude to a guy who pretended to be interested, and then he shared it all around the school. Instead of acting horrified, everyone was like, yo, have you seen redacted S nudes? They even asked right over her. Like, I was walking to class behind her and two people on either side of her who were talking to each other about the recent drama. Needless to say, John Mulaney really had a point when he said 13-year-olds are the meanest people on earth. This happened in my high school as well. People blamed the girl because the guy was sort of with another girl and the girl that sent the nudes was obviously a W that deserved it. It makes me sick remembering that mindset. My god. It doesn't exactly fit with the story, but this thread made me remember a funny incident where one of my friends at the time suddenly decided he was going to become a hardest and get all the respect and babes by picking on the weird kid. It was totally random because he was a nice, pretty quiet kid before that. But anyway, he walked up to the weird kid all Billy badass and said, "That's my chair. What are you doing in my chair before class?" The weird kid just calmly sits there and quite rightly points out there's no assigned seating. So Billy Badass suddenly pushes him and tried to get him in a headlock. So the weird kid just bit him on the arm, really hard enough to break the skin and send him to the hospital for tetanus shots. This was back in the days when school administrators still were allowed to have some common sense, so the principal just called them both into the office, figured out what happened, and said to Billy Badass, "You got what you deserved," and said to the weird kid, "Don't bite anyone else, that is dangerous and very weird," and then made them shake on it, and that was that. The first and last day of my old junior high friend's decision to be a badass and get popular by picking on the weird kid. Said to the weird kid, "Don't bite anyone else, that is dangerous and very weird." This made me chuckle a little bit. Not that I disagree in any way, I just think it's a bit funny that he specifically said very weird. Circa 2003 high school. Saw a bully practically tear the nipple off this one kid. It was like an F5 tornado titty twister with fingernails. Had the kid with a learning disability read out me so fucking retarded. Substitute teacher was in the room and did nothing, so I stood up to erase it off the board and got in trouble for being out of my seat. A group of kids liked to pee on this real nice teacher because they said he was creepy, so one day they played a prank where one of them pretended to hang themselves and he had a stroke because of it. I like annoying teachers and all, but even I was like, holy crap. My mother-in-law was one of 5 rowdy kids who grew up in Ethiopia with little supervision. Family law has it they had somehow snuck out to a public hanging and then were inspired to rig it up so when the parents came home it looked like one of the daughters had hanged herself. I clearly have only known these siblings as adults, but I fully believe they would do this. One bully at my school pushed a kid down the stairs, where there were shards of glass at the bottom, which he landed on. The bully was expelled, in anger management, probation, and juvie for a short time. The kid's okay. He has serious scars though. This one may be kind of mild compared to others, but there was a freshman on our wrestling team who was a completely dweeb and got picked on a lot by this group of sophomore wrestlers. Our 113, 120 and 138 wrestlers. Anyways, one day they decided it would be a good idea to pee on him in the showers after practice. That made me so mad. I talked to the coach next day and got to drill live matches, actually wrestling each other, with each of them on rotation for 10 practices straight. Maybe the most satisfying thing I've ever done. Kid they picked on qualified for state his senior year. Calm as a bee. Did you hit a flying squirrel? I wasn't told much of it, but someone I was friendly with was bullied pretty harshly by some people and committed suicide. He never told anyone about how he was bullied, but people slowly caught on to who caused it to happen. Still feel terrible that I didn't know what was going on with the person I was friendly with and wish I could have done something to save him. Some guy tried to light a girl's hair on fire. He didn't succeed, but she was ready to beat the crap out of him. I held her back. At this point I'm not sure that was the right choice. It's hard to say, I don't know where he is now, but he probably could have used a beating. My friend had finally grown her hair back after chemo. So yeah, that guy was a giant dong, and maybe I should have let her kick his butt. I thought he was a good dude before that event. But yup, way too far. Normally I would say violence isn't the answer, but in this case, yeah, maybe some violence would be okay. Some girl liked to start fights to increase her ego and status, so she picked on this one girl who was raped by her father for a large portion of her young childhood. She started saying I bet you liked it and practically told the entire school and all this other nasty crap. Eventually the other girl got incredibly depressed and angry and pushed her. They fought and the bully had a posse of equally rude guys teasing and filming it saying dumb w stupid butt s. The bully smashed her nose in and ripped out earrings. Stupid fights happen in middle school, but this was RLY fricked up and too far. Also, nothing happened to the bully or any of the kids involved. Luckily the victim was emotionally strong. But holy crap, I can't believe people like that exist. Really sucks. Not really the bully of my school, but when I was in HS, a girl posted her boyfriend's pee on Twitter and tagged his mom because she was mad that he made it. Rightfully, he did it behind her back. The added salt in the wound was that he did 2 solo vids that got posted on the site's gay version, and she chose the video from the gay site to tag the mom in. Needless to say, his family and anyone who knew him saw his everything after he was publicly exposed and de-anonymized. This guy was also very homophobic in his personal life, so he got kicked out of the pee industry after his personal Twitter was posted on the comments for all of his videos, causing a huge uproar. His apology video is still on YouTube, and he still gets crap for it. Tried to beat the crap out of the nicest guy in school. Nice guy was huge, not fat, but big ahead of the rest of us. But he wouldn't fight back, just kept getting hit on the way to his next class. He turned around once, and we thought it was on, but then he calmed himself down, turned the other cheek and walked to class. I was amazed. So much class. 2 of my buddies and myself beat the crap out of the bully the next day. Told him never to frick with big guy again. He never did. I wish I had the ability to turn the other cheek like that back then. Had to learn the hard way much later in life. I was amazed. So much class. 2 of my buddies and myself beat the crap out of the bully the next day. Well then. Not really an aggressive bully, but one of the popular kids. There was an outcast kid in high school who committed suicide. He had a lot of issues, one of which was he was in the foster system and living in a group home. At school, was ignored, mocked, probably bullied. I only had 1 class with him, so didn't know much, by the popular crowd. After he died, my English teacher was making an announcement that she would arrange to take anyone to the funeral who wanted to go. Group of popular kids in front of me start asking each other if they are going to go, because now they care about the kid. One of the guys says, I don't know, I might go just to get out of class. To be fair, everyone went silent and kinda gave him looks, and he did seem ashamed at what he said. I think he tried to mumble something about joking or not meaning it. But seriously, it stuck with me. Like, when he was alive, at the least you purposely ignored this kid's existence. At most bullied him. Now he's offed himself, and you want to use his funeral not to make any sort of amends, but to simply get out of class. Freaking piece of crap douche. Wanted to strangle him with his freaking puka shell necklace. I was severely bullied in grade school. I was basically tormented and tortured for 8 years. When I was about 5 they locked me in the bathroom and turned out the lights that were outside the bathroom and told me this ghost lady was going to come out of the mirror and kill me. Another time when the teacher left the room, this kid grabbed my glasses from my face and started tossing them around to all the other kids. They eventually broke. And I don't know why, but I told my dad I lost them and he was very angry with me. We were all so poor, so needless to say I was blind for a few weeks until we could afford to get new ones. I have a bunch more stories that crossed the line, but I will leave you with those for now. That's terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through with that, and I hope you're in a much better place now. There was a toilet in the locker room that quit working. Someone used it anyways and it sat for a couple weeks. Kid filled someone's water bottle with it. Disgustingest thing ever. What did the kid do after he drank it? In about 2nd grade, I went to Catholic school, and around every Thursday, we went to church. We also had to kind of prepare for our first Holy Communion outside of school. At some point near the end of our preparation thing, we did a mock of the FHC, and me being a 2nd grader and an idiot, I thought that was our FHC. Fast forward a few weeks later, and it was Thursday church day, and what do? I do communion, and I eat the bread. Everyone else seemed to know that the mock FHC wasn't the real deal, so when I did it, everyone, including the teachers, was just sort of like, what the heck dude? Why did you do that? I just sort of blew it off as them seeing it as a common mistake. The next day, I had to go to my religion class, where my teacher, the bully, completely freaked out on me. She insulted me, called me dumb, threatened to send me to the principal's office, repeatedly asked me why I took the bread, despite telling her the truth that it was an accident, started going on about how I was going to heck, and she got the whole class to get in on the fun as well. The whole class period just sort of went about with me being verbally abused by everyone in the class. Keep in mind that I was, like, 7, and I was just sort of speechless and severely embarrassed. That one experience still has me scarred to this day, and I still have social anxiety from it. Mrs. Minor, if you're out there and reading this, go frick yourself. They tied some kid's gym locker up with his t-shirt, but before they did they squirted mustard all over his clothes. I helped him get his locker back open. They weren't happy, but I was a varsity wrestler so they didn't mess with me. Thanks for sticking up to the bullies. Anger issued kiddo thought it'd be funny to throw some kid down 5 stairs into a wall. Turns out it was just plain drywall and blew a hole in the dang thing. I walked into the staircase right as the kid flew into the wall and booted to the main office. I was not about to get caught up in that shit show. He beat a teacher until she was unconscious when she called him out on his balls. He got expelled for it, and so for a while there was no lead bully in my grade. Eventually one of his friends rose up to take his mantle and continued the age-old bully traditions, but thankful never to the extent of beating anyone unconscious. Pulled a chair from under a girl when she went to sit down. Broke her tailbone and she was off for a few weeks. I used to do that to my friends sometimes, but I never accidentally broke their tailbones, lol. While I was in junior high, there was this guy in my grade. He was incredibly nice, super sweet to everyone, and never realized when people were making fun of him. His name was Brian and he had Down syndrome. One day these 3 kids decided to start picking on him. They started making fun of him. Brian never really realized when someone was being sarcastic or making fun of him, so he would just smile and try to talk to them and be the nice guy he was. These 3 kids decided to take it further and started pushing him. I told them they needed to frick off. Their reaction was to push him to the ground and hold him there until he was crying and telling me to do something about it. Now I've always been a bigger guy. I was probably 6 feet 0 inches and 200 pounds back in 7th grade. I also grew up as the youngest of 5 boys, meaning I got the crap kicked out of me by my brothers on a daily basis. So I had some good knowledge on how to protect myself, but outside of with my brothers, had never had a fight before. I ended up breaking one of the kids' nose, one ended up with broken ribs, and the third just got a bloody lip. I still say they deserved to get beat much worse. After it was all said and done, The 3 of them were suspended for 3 days. I was suspended for 3 as well. But after my mom heard what happened and why I was fighting, I got a 3-day vacation from school and a new game for my GameCube. My mom always taught me right from wrong and was nothing but proud of me. Happened off school grounds, but 2 bullies, girls, from my school were walking in their neighborhood and saw another girl from school in front of her house. They demanded she give them her jacket, and when she refused, one held her while the other one set the girl's hair on fire. Luckily she saved herself from serious damage. Maybe she stopped, dropped and rolled. I don't know. Bullies got expelled. Before that they'd served multiple suspensions for other incidents. He shoved a black kid's head into a toilet filled with crap. Pee a ton of people off. Racism charges were filed but nothing ever came out of it. He was too popular and parents were too well known. It was fricked up. Same guy had a signature move of popping people's right eyes out after knocking them out. He eventually wrecked his truck doing 90 miles per hour on a little crappy bus back road while drunk and fricked up on coke. Caused his truck to flip several times and died from it. Not going to be the one who says he kinda had it coming, but beat up a mentally challenged kid because he came in our school. The kid was from a different school. He came after classes were out to hang out with his sister. The frick is wrong with people? This made me so mad. Does it kill for people to acting fricking civilized and treat others with kindness and compassion? Sorry, English isn't my first language. This guy in my HS wasn't even a bully, he was just an ignorant douche. He threw a used condom at the openly gay guy, and he took a video of it too. He wasn't a bully, he was just a psychopath. His father would pay people to spend time with him, but literally no one in my town ever would. He hit my friend Pete over the head with a shovel and tied him up and threw carpenter nails at him. One time, he took a stick and a belt and beat the crap out of himself, leaving bruises and welts all over his body. He told his parents me and my friend did it to him and they called the cops. I had to explain to my mother that this kid was known for being a complete psychopath. Total school shooter material if that was a thing back then. A guy who used to bully me in 4th grade striked me with a glass bottle in my face, right in between my eyebrows. The bottle broke and injured me and that kid got away with almost killing me. Our principal just said it's not our business. I feel like that would be a good time for your parents to get the cops involved. Knew about a guy who abused stray dogs. Everyone agreed the guy was going to kill someone. When he went too far was when they found a dead dog in a dumpster in the back with knife wounds. He didn't get charged with anything cause it was circumstantial at best, but everyone knew he did it. Glad I moved out of state after my first year of high school. Shoved another dude's face into a table so hard it broke his nose and knocked out his 2 front teeth. Now the dude has to permanently have fake teeth. One afternoon, a fight broke out between 2 boys. No big deal, super common. My classmates and I were just kind of hanging out. Our female teacher was on the intercom with front office. Then we heard it. Sounded like something being hit against the lockers. So of course we all went into the hallway. One guy was beating the other guy's head against a locker. Hard, blood everywhere. 3 male teachers pulled the bully off the other poor kid and took him to the office. Ambulance and cops were called. Bully was expelled and sent to juvenile hall. The other guy spent the day at the year and came back to school a week later. I, a jaded sophomore, thought that bully went way too far. People get into fights, sure, but trying to kill a guy? Too far. Bro, my widower dad remarried and I got to switch from one of the worst schools in the county to the best rated public high school in the county for 11th and 12th grades. No almost murders, just some pot smoking and a few kids selling their Adderall. It's not as bad as the others on here, but I thought it was pretty bad. In my class, we had an autistic kid who would occasionally just start dancing out of nowhere. The first time he did it, a bunch of druggies in my class start to mock his dances. He was obviously upset, but what made him even more upset was that they were also just talking crap about him too. Saying stuff like he's so freaking annoying, why is he in our class, and why the frick is he always doing this crap. They called him retarded and a lot of others like that. I definitely thought it was over the edge and totally disrespectful, and so did everybody else in the class. I had been sexually assaulted and all the school knew because my abuser wrote out the event for his creative writing class, after which my bully ran up and humped my leg and told me that I must have liked it because of what my abuser said. Nobody ever took me seriously. When the bully died in a house fire, I didn't grieve at all. I'm really sorry that happened to you. The abuser is a freaking douchebag. What a horrible thing to do. I hope you're better now. In high school, she wasn't a bully exactly to everyone. She wasn't popular, but she said to this guy who had some learning developmental issues that if she was his dad she wouldn't have killed herself too. Kid tried to kick her. If I'd been in the class at the time, I would have beat the crap out of her for him. Freaking B. He shoved a kid down the stairs. Kid broke a collarbone. Broken collarbone kid was pulled out mid-year and switched to homeschool. Bully went on being popular. I went to a really crappy high school where if you graduated we termed it gladiator graduation. We legit had a mini police station inside the school with 6 officers and 3 detectives. Needless to say there were bullies everywhere. I've seen guns drawn on people and made to strip to their undies and walk around outside. Girls spit razors out of their mouths and give out $1.50s. Crap was wild. SMH. They punched the smaller special ed kid on the bus while they were sitting down. I only knew I didn't ride the bus because I had friends who sent me the video. The smaller kid won. He tried to light a kid on fire. Then he started a forest fire. Fortunately we were down the street from a fire depot, so only one tree burned down. I know it's not nearly as bad as the stuff I've read in this thread, but I still wanted to share it. So just to start, I was bullied most of my life due to various reasons, but I think the biggest one was me being a male with long hair. I often got called a freaking gay emo trans Metallica shithead. Honestly one of the rarest insults I've ever heard. First it was just my classmates, then the whole school, and after that even the teachers started to get in, because my grades and my general attitude towards other people got worse. I wonder why. After 3 years of this crap I was almost at the breaking point. Fortunately it was the last day of school for the year, so I wouldn't see these suckers for some time and just be able to isolate myself in my room in true gothic fashion. Unfortunately one of my worst bullies rode the same bus as me. I only remember standing there, reading a book while I was waiting for the bus. Suddenly she tried to get into an argument with me, but I stayed calm. She then proceeded to smack the book right out of my hands on the ground. I of course asked what the frick was wrong with her, and she just started yelling at me and insulting me, and in the end she told that if me and just a little piece crap were laying on the ground and burning she'd get a fire extinguisher, save the piece of crap, and then beat me to death with the fire extinguisher. Just let me burn to death. I know this doesn't sound like much, but for my 13-year-old psyche it was a pretty devastating blow. I started tearing up and in the end my mum picked me up. When I arrived at home I just laid in my bed, cried a little more and then slept for 18 hours. After this incident I decided to switch school. The bullying didn't get better though, it just shifted from mental bullying, getting called a faggot etc. 250 times per day, to physical bullying, just getting beaten up on a weekly basis. PS. To anybody who read this whole story, thanks for listening to my problems. WTF, this is equally bad if not worse than some of the others. I'm so sorry that happened to you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.